Hello. Good afternoon. So long afternoon. I'm very pleased to take part of this this event and to have some insights on with my two panelists here on some discussions about AI in defense. So we have been speaking about geopolitics, about finance, and many subjects together this day. And defense topics are the crossroads of many of these. And then, so I'm Alain PAGES. I'm CTO of Naval Group Far East. Here we are a subsidiary in Singapore, established 20 years ago now. We are celebrating this anniversary, which was established for providing some services to the Singapore Navy. We delivered frigates at that time, and then we continue to have this kind of follow-up of these ships and providing support, not only in Singapore, but also to foreign countries, on which we have also some activities. And on top of this basic activity, we have decided in 2019 to establish a R&D Center of Excellence, where we have built some research activities internally here in Singapore with partners, focusing on some areas of our wide R&D portfolio that we have in the Naval Group. We are covering so many topics for defense naval activities, and we are focusing here in Singapore on some subjects. First on AI-powered solution, mainly on the ship management system, autonomous vehicles, maintenance operations first. We are also some subject on simulation for providing data for AI solutions and then testing them, and also working on AI tools for more software development activities and increasing the productivity of our internal software developers. So in Naval Group, our position is very specific in the defense domain. We are at the top of the value chain. So we are developing our own AI solutions for our products, for our processes, but we are embedding equipment which are themselves having their own AI, starting to have some AI stuff. So we need to know exactly what we can trust on, what we can evaluate, and so forth. So I'm very happy for that in this area to welcome two panelists from two interesting companies in that area. So I will start with Jean-Marc from Thalès, and April from Resaro. Also two different part of the value chain for taking part of AI solutions in the defense area. So the first topic I would like to discuss, which is a key subject when we are speaking about AI, is trust, but it is even more consistent in the defense area, where when we are speaking about decision making in systems where life and death is taken, it can have some consequences in such areas. So for Jean-Marc, Thalès has been established for a long time, about 50 years in Singapore, placing you at the center of the trust-based relationship with, we are very well connected, established here with academics, partner industries, agencies. So how is your approach in considering integration of AI in critical systems today, and what are the prerequisites for effective deployment of systems embedding AI?
Okay. At Thalès, in fact, we are considering two approaches for integrating AI solution into mission critical systems. So the first approach is the one which is really serve our customer. They need immediate response towards the current context. So we provide AI solution that can assist them, in the sense that this solution, they don't replace human, in fact. they augment them. They provide additional information, additional insight at the end of the day, so that they can make their decision, in fact, with more, in fact, accuracy, in fact, and better. So this approach, in fact, what is important is the final decision remains with the human. We have also a second approach. We are building now, because it's a little bit more complex. We are building a rigorous process, in fact, to qualify the AI solution for defense. So what it is about trust, in fact, how we can ensure the trustability of the AI solution. And once we will achieve this, of course, we can imagine, in fact, AI solution with greater autonomy, in fact, embedded in our systems. And this will be at the condition that we can ensure that they are reliable, they are trustable, in fact, and transparent. So it's come to the point of how we, in fact, what are the prerequisites? It was your question to deploy, in fact, AI solution into our critical systems. I will list the most important factor I can see. I will start with the robust, in fact, testing and validation. It is very important. We are speaking about defense systems, so we cannot do mistake. It will have catastrophic consequences. So we need to ensure that at the end of the day, we test our AI solutions across all the spectrum of, I would say, conditions that it could face in operation. So it's a challenge, obviously, but I would say we cannot make compromise on that because of the stakes that are there. A second aspect also, which is very, very important for Thalès, is the explainability. When a user in defense systems will use AI, he needs to rely on. And to rely on, he needs to understand how the decision is made. So that is very important. And we are doing a lot of, in fact, work with partners, in fact. We have some initiative. There is a framework called Confiance AI. We are really focused on the explainability of the AI solution. We have another dimension which is about the, I would say, the cybersecurity. We need to address and we need to protect the AI solution. That's very important because the consequence also could be very catastrophic. Because we have to resist to attacks. We have to also avoid data manipulation. And when it comes to data, also data is very important. We need to ensure the integrity and also the quality of the data. The data is very important for AI, as everybody knows. So obviously, any error in the data could directly affect the performance of the AI solution. So that needs to be really considered, in fact. And we have another dimension which is more about the ethics, in fact. We need to ensure that the AI solution meets ethical standards, meets, I would say, industry regulation, so that is very important. So at the end of the day, there is a set of prerequisites that we cannot, in fact, compromise. And this is what we think at Thalès. So we deliver, in fact, AI solution, not only for the, I would say, the technical excellence that it can deliver, but also we want to ensure that the solution is trustable, in fact. So that is important. So we deliver, in fact, innovation, but not only innovation. At the end of the day, we deliver also certainty of the solution, in fact, and safety. And that helps to protect, in fact, those the AI solutions serve at the end of the day.
Okay. Thanks, Jean-Marc. So testing, validation, April, I understand that this is what sits at the heart of the company that you're working on. So how AI, so you're not a pure AI provider, but more providing a solution for validation and guaranteeing assurance for the end users. So how is the robustness of defense-oriented AI solutions evaluated by today by your company. I understand that you say bottleneck is no longer the question, but on the development, but more on the validation process. Can you elaborate on that?
Great, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm April from Resaro, and we are an AI assurance provider that sits in between the buyer of AI solutions and the vendors that are selling the solutions. And that's fundamentally because we see a gap in the market for that independent trust provider to validate the solutions. And that's, I think, coming from two key driving forces that we observe. One is threat actors today are rapidly using AI. I believe many of you would have heard Anthropic's news recently that hackers have used their AI agents, right, to accelerate automated spying. That's the reality that we're living today. And then on the positive side, there's so much that we can benefit and learn from dual-use AI technologies. The deep tech capabilities are no longer concentrated in the DARPAs of the world. In the civilian world, the rapid commercial adoption has also meant that AI technologies have improved rapidly. So what does this mean for defense agencies, right? I would think defense agencies will want a lot more optionality to plug and play different types of AI software solutions, which is important, but then the challenge is AI is fundamentally a very context-based technology. To be able to validate that requires a good understanding of how you intend to use it. On top of that, I think we're living in a world where developers are vibe coding, and we are seeing what we call the 70% problem, right? Which is you can accelerate the development of AI up to 70% of the time. But when it actually comes to testing and validating it, especially before you push it out into the real world, then the remaining 30% is extremely painful. And sometimes the senior or seasoned developers will say they would rather not vibe code their way through. And of course, there are still lots of emerging security issues that we're seeing. So if we take all this into account, I think when it comes to robust evaluation of AI systems, number one, we have to move away from that traditional project-based, static rules kind of approach to designing and testing and deploying systems. I think we're living in a world where technology is moving fast, and therefore the iteration cycle needs to be a lot more rapid. And at the heart of it, I think we need a redesign of that trust layer in the defense ecosystem, because essentially operators, procurers, solution providers will need to sit down together and be able to articulate clear expectations of what I want and what I can deliver. These are the outcomes, right? If we can see the outcomes, then we move forward. Otherwise, it's on, right, to the next solution provider out there. And this is going to be a fundamental shift in the way we think about using and evaluating AI solutions for defense.
Yeah, so trust is not only a question of technology, but it's really a way to work with the entire ecosystem. And yeah, we feel that also that the end users are asking even on more and more fast pacing of innovation introduction in the solutions. This pace is drastically increasing, and that requires more agile way of collaborating with the partners, so which is really a huge challenge, especially in that area. So Jean-Marc, you already work here, as I said, with agencies like DSTA, HTX, startups, universities. But collaboration in AI means also sharing a lot of data, intellectual property, dealing with export controls regulations. So how do you effectively build this ecosystem despite all these limits?
So at Thalès, we are collaborating here in Singapore since quite a long time, in fact. We are established since 50 years, as you mentioned. So we are used to, in fact, to do collaboration with the different stakeholders, in fact, which can be in defense, in security, and other business we are addressing. But I would say that we can see very strong dynamic at the moment, which can be linked, in fact, to the current context, in fact, where there is some game changer, some new threats coming up. Everything is evolving very fast. So there is a real appetite, in fact, for collaboration in order to address, in fact, the issue, the problem that we are facing. So definitely, we are leveraging, in fact, the strong ecosystem which is here, in fact. So we partner with startup, which bring agility, with university, which have a deep knowledge in research. With agency, we have the operational knowledge, which is key for AI, obviously. And we do that in a structured manner, in fact, through partnership. We leverage also some shared test bed, like the digital twin. We have digital twin, radar digital twin, that help us for that. And then we can start collaborating. Obviously, with collaboration, we need to take care about intellectual property. And what is important, what is at stake, is really addressing these topics right from the beginning, in fact, and developing the IP governance framework. So what does it mean? It means that really addressing who owns the IP, how the result can be reused, so that it's really key. Obviously, it's the initial question that we have, not always easy, in fact, but at the end of the day, by doing that exercise, you build trust, which is important, trust for the collaboration. And I would say in AI also, we have also the problematic of data, in fact, sharing, which is not easy. And again, for that, there is some ways, some vehicle that we are using. We may use, in fact, some synthetic data, in fact, or we can also anonymize the data, in fact, which is quite powerful. You take out, in fact, all the sensitive information. So for a radar, you have the position, if it's a ship, at the end of the day, of the ship, the range of the object. So you take out this information so that at the end of the day, you can manipulate, the data scientists can manipulate the data without knowing exactly the operational, in fact, context of the data, which is key at the end of the day. And by doing so, in fact, we can, in fact, leverage a joint cooperation, in fact, without exposing the real, in fact, sensitive data. So that is really key. And on top of that, we have also a way to set up, in fact, some type of protected, in fact, innovation space, where at the end of the day, we have, I would say, only the necessary people. We can work on one particular project so that we don't dissipate the information elsewhere. So that is some methodology that we are using that are quite effective. We have been able to really progress on that side with a different agency here. So that's very good. And we see that it's really at the end of the day, the starting point is linked also to the trust. The trust we have with our partners, with customers, is not coming from today. It's because we have been able to establish along the year, and we have a common view to really address, in fact, the problems by collaboration and delivered outcome. So this is the main idea of our strategy.
Yeah, very used or interesting way of using exchanging data in this way. And our Resaro, which is somewhere in between the end users, which are asking for rapid deployment, and large groups which are pushing this kind of innovation. How do you see the way to better cooperate and without sacrificing sovereignty and security?
Yeah, thank you. We're living in a world now where I think it's scary that the either-or mentality is becoming front or center, right? Just to give some examples, it's either local or foreign, it's either national or global, or in the AI space, it's either innovation or governance. And that fragmented and binary thinking can very quickly increase costs for businesses. Coming from an AI assurance point of view, where at the heart of it, we want to build confidence for organizations to adopt AI and grow in the use of the technology, what we see a need for is not just the collaboration in innovation and development, but also the collaboration in the assurance, right? Because at the heart of it, everyone wants to build supply chain resiliency. But in order to have that, you need to have enough transparency, explainability in that process. And that's where the common set of standards, the interoperable frameworks and guidelines matter a lot. For Resaro, I mean, what we're solving for is one small part of this ecosystem, right? But it's really at the intersection of the operator, governance, and engineering stakeholders. Because what we see across organizations and agencies is these three stakeholders have very different expectations, different KPIs, may speak the same language, but actually have very different paradigms. And if we don't align their expectations on what is good enough AI, then that bottleneck will not be resolved, and either organizations will not, realize the ROI of their AI investments, or a lot of activities get stuck in the experimentation stages, right? And then if you elevate that at the national and global level, similarly, we are looking at questions around how can I trust your technology, right? How can I trust the data that you have used to train your AI model? But fundamentally, assurance needs to be built in every single layer, from development right down to testing and eventually deployment.
Okay, I see, thanks. So Jean-Marc, just maybe some more ideas of, in your very effective collaborations, how do you determine what can be shared and what cannot be really shared in this kind of work, common works here in Singapore?
Okay, so this is a very important question, especially in defense. So we have a set of axes that we analyze at the end of the day. Huh? So I think one on the first point that we are in fact addressing is the technology maturity. In fact, huh? Because definitely, the lower the technology is, in fact, the easier, in fact, we can envisage collaboration. As simple like that, huh? Obviously. But even with that, I mean, it doesn't mean that we can address only low TRL, low technology readiness levels for collaboration. Huh? We can address also more mature, in fact, collaboration. But in that case, yes, we need we have, I would say, perhaps more complex framework, where we need, in fact, to look for the export control constraints. Okay, we need to look at the classification levels, in fact, of the project. We need also to look at the potential reversibility of the solution. So all in all, with this framework, we were able to establish what can be shared, what can be partially shared, what cannot be shared. But at the end of the day, two key points. Obviously, again, I will speak about the trust. When there is trust, because when we look for export control constraints, we're speaking about between, in fact, two governments. And I mean, when there is a very good relationship between them, then it can facilitate and make the process smoother, in fact, in terms of export control. So that is very important. It's the case here, in fact. So we can, in fact, envisage, in fact, implementation of solution faster. So that's very, very important. But again, the main point is really to look at what we need to deliver as an outcome, and how we can, in fact, come to that stage. So obviously there will be some problematics. We cannot share all the data, the interface, because obviously we cannot share all the internal algorithm. But this is something that at the end of the day now is anchor in fact also in our stakeholders. They know also how we are proceeding, because we have a long relationship with them, so it's not a surprise from them. It's also we know also how they are operating. So at the end of the day, by knowing each other, the constraint that we have, it helps when you have an objective, in fact, at the end of the day, to collaborate. It helps, in fact, to be able to overcome this kind of problematics at the end of the day.
Okay. So I think we are approaching the end of this session. Maybe the last word for April. I think you are speaking about a mindset shift when we were used to speak about gold-plated systems when it is about a defense system, and now we move to faster. We need to have a faster deployment. So what does that change concretely in what it is about evaluating, certifying, and validating systems in the defense technology from your point of view?
Yeah, thank you. The context of the code moving away from gold-plated systems came from our former Prime Minister in his speech to the defense community as a reminder that the nature of warfare is changing. If you look at Ukraine, right, a lot of the battlefield equipment that they're using are very rapidly being developed. And I think fundamentally we have to move away from the mindset that you test once and use forever. There's no more test once and use forever from here on, right? And what we want to create in this world is really a much tighter loop between the operator or the commander on the ground, the engineer who's the one coding, right, fine-tuning the system, and a governance persona or someone, right, who ultimately is in charge of the overall decision-making of the system. And this is a world where I think there needs to be a ready set of data as well as testing methodologies, standards in place, so that you can create contextualized baselines and rapidly improve on top of it. I don't think we're there yet, but the ingredients are already available, right? You have open source benchmarks. You talked about the use of synthetic data sets to augment test sets. Standards are being developed, but what we need to more rapidly rally around is creating defense-specific approaches to this so that defense agencies can indeed move towards a more plug-and-play model of adopting AI solutions.
Thank you very much for these insights. Thank you, Jean-Marc. Thank you, April. Yes, I think we have demonstrated some examples that Singapore is a very good test bench for France and Asia collaborations and also in defense areas. And AI is something quite even more challenging, but we are here in the area where this can take place. Thank you very much, all of you. Thanks.
Thank you very much.